Hello fight fans, thanks for joining us at MMA Insider. Before we get rolling with today's news, show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing. Now let's uncover the latest happenings in MMA. Starting off, Dana White and company are once again sending out feelers for a new UFC 303 main event. Moving on, Garry pushes for UFC 303 fight with Michael Page to be 5 rounds. Next, Jon Jones claps back at Dominick Reyes over claims of beating him in 2020 UFC title fight. Lastly, Pereira unsure how Israel Adesanya does versus Dricus Du Plessis. Dana White and company are once again sending out feelers for a new UFC 303 main event. Conor McGregor is expected to make his long-anticipated re-entrance into the octagon to face Michael Chandler in a welterweight main event bout. On June 3rd, the UFC made the following statement. The UFC 303 press conference, scheduled for Monday, June 3rd in Dublin, Ireland at 3 Arena, has been postponed until further notice. We sincerely apologize to all the fans who were planning to attend. When we have further information on a new date and time, we will share it immediately. Thank you. That announcement led to speculation something was amiss and perhaps the McGregor versus Chandler bout was in jeopardy. It was during the UFC Louisville event last weekend that the promotion ran a promo for McGregor versus Chandler confirming the main event was still a go for June 29th. In yet another twist, journalist Ariel Helwani took to X this afternoon with the latest update concerning UFC 303. Here is what he said. Latest on UFC 303. Around this time last week, all the anxiety surrounding the UFC 303 main event seemed to start to dissipate. By Wednesday, no more feelers about replacements were being sent out. All systems seemed to be a go again. Later in the week, Chandler did an interview with The Pivot about it being all good. And on Saturday, UFC was promoting it again on the ABC Fight Night telecast. There was a scare about the fight being off, and the scare appeared to be no more. But since this morning, multiple sources are now saying feelers are being sent out again for June 29th for a replacement and/or new fights. In short, there seems to pessimism all over again regarding the status of the 303 main event. Actually, even more pessimism, it seems, than on Monday last week, after the presser was canceled at the last minute. Is this insurance? Due diligence? Emergency replacement mode? Remains to be seen. It's all developing again, but it doesn't appear as though we are out of the woods either way just yet. More to come, and hopefully a definitive answer one way or the other in short order. Ariel Helwani says the positivity from the last week is nowhere to be found, and the UFC are looking for a plan B regarding McGregor versus Chandler fight at UFC 303. So, will we see McGregor versus Chandler at UFC 303? As the old saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire, or is this a publicity buildup? It's anyone's guess. Do you think the Irishman and Iron will indeed battle it out on June 29th? Share your thoughts in the comment section. UFC welterweight contender Garry wants 5 rounds for his return against Michael Page. Garry has been out of the octagon since a split decision victory over Jeff Neal in February at UFC 298. That win was the biggest of Garry's career thus far, and he called for a grudge match with Colby Covington afterward. However, after Covington rejected the offer, the Irishman was matched up with Michael Page. The man known as Michael Page debuted at UFC 299 in March, scoring a dominant decision victory over Kevin Holland. As of now, Garry's bout with Michael Page is set to open the UFC 303 pay-per-view later this month. That card is currently slated to be headlined by the return of Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. Granted, that bout appears to be in danger right now. Regardless, it seems that Garry wants to be bumped up on the main card. Taking to Instagram stories earlier this week, the Irishman revealed that he planned to talk to Hunter Campbell about making his return 5 rounds. Garry added that he's feeling ready to fight and he hopes that Michael Page is the same. Here is what he said. I just finished a really good training session. I'm feeling fresh and I'm feeling ready. I just did 5 rounds. I'm gonna get on the phone to Hunter and the UFC today and let's push for a 5-round co-main. Let's push it. This is a fight that we are representing the Irish, and Michael Page, get ready for 25 minutes of pain. While Garry has never been in a 5-round contest in the UFC, this could be the time for him to do so. In the last few years, the company has embraced the idea of 5-round co-mains. As recently as this month, Sean Strickland fought Paulo Costa for 25 minutes on the undercard of Islam Makhachev versus Dustin. What do you make of this challenge from UFC welterweight contender Garry? Do you want to see his fight with Michael Page be 5 rounds? Jon Jones has fired back at his former rival Dominick Reyes. On Tuesday, the UFC heavyweight champion took to X to respond to Reyes' recent comments, claiming that he had defeated Jones in their light heavyweight title fight at UFC 247 in 2020. Although an official unanimous decision win for Jones, many online criticized the scoring of the fight and had Reyes winning. Reyes also believes he got the job done and spoke his mind on the subject once again in a recent interview with Ariel Helwani. What a claim to fame. Almost beat Jon Jones. Got full of myself and literally couldn't win another fight. After losing to Jones in 2020, Reyes went on to get stopped 3 consecutive times. Reyes returned to the win column this past Saturday, putting away Dustin Jacoby at UFC on ESPN 57. Jones claims he didn't watch the fight, but his advice still stands. Dominick, when you look back at our fight, I don't want you to ever question me or those judges. Look at your own heart, your own endurance. You didn't do enough. The sooner you accept that, the better athlete you'll become. The victory over Reyes was Jones' final fight and title defense at light heavyweight. Shortly after the bout, Jones vacated his title and then took a 3-year hiatus from the sport. He returned in March 2023, defeating Cyril Gane for the vacant UFC heavyweight title. Jones is currently getting back to training after recovering from surgery to repair a torn pectoral muscle. He's expected to return in November to make his first heavyweight title defense against Stipe Miocic. Alex Pereira has a hard time predicting the expected title fight between Dricus Du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. UFC middleweight champion Du Plessis and Adesanya are rumored to potentially fight on the UFC 305 pay-per-view card August 17th in Perth, Australia. Adesanya will look to rebound from his title loss to Sean Strickland at UFC 293. Prior to the Strickland loss, Adesanya knocked out Pereira at UFC 287 in March 2023. Adesanya avenged his UFC 281 knockout loss to Pereira, who thinks he hasn't looked the same since their fights. Here is what he said. Being honest with you, like I said before, why the Strickland fight for him would be a hard fight. And looking how everything played out, how everything worked after I fought Adesanya, he changed a little bit. It's kind of like, I'm not going to say he's not the same anymore, but he's been performing a little different. So I don't even know what to expect. With their series tied 1-1 in MMA, Pereira was open to a trilogy bout with Adesanya, but says Adesanya did not reciprocate his enthusiasm. Pereira has since moved up to light heavyweight, captured that division's belt, and successfully defended it with a knockout of Jamal Hill at UFC 300 in April. He is currently angling for a rematch with Jiří Procházka, whom he knocked out to claim the vacant light heavyweight title at UFC 295. Do you believe that Israel Adesanya will make a winning return in mixed martial arts later this year? Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Your dedication and support fuel our passion to bring you the latest and greatest in the MMA world. If you enjoyed today's news, please give us a thumbs up and share it with fellow MMA fans. Remember to subscribe to stay in the loop with daily MMA updates. We've got a lot of exciting news, interviews, and analysis coming your way every single day. Your engagement helps us grow and serve the MMA community even better. Once again, thank you for being an integral part of our daily MMA journey.